So, official welcome to everybody who's joined us. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to see all of you. Um, and thank you for taking the time to tune into this very special live community session. My name is Varia. I am the Director of Customer Marketing at Contentstack, and I will be your host for this webinar. And we are here to talk about a topic that we at Contentstack are a little bit obsessed with, which is pragmatic AI. How can you, on this call, start integrating this technology into your workflows beyond asking ChatGPT to make your emails sound nicer? Hope that's not just me. And we've got a fantastic customer from our Contentstack community joining us to tell us a little bit about how they did this. So this is amazing. Before we start, a little bit of quick housekeeping. This is an interactive session. You've already started chatting with us. We welcome your questions. You can ask them via the Q&A box in your control panel. You can also drop them in the chat and we'll make sure they get where they need to go in terms of the Q&A box. We'll either drop in questions during the session or we'll have lots of time for questions at the end. So please do ask any questions that pop into your mind as we're going through the content of this webinar. We are also recording this and we'll be sharing the recording out within the next week or so if you want to share it with anybody who wasn't able to join us live. So I think that's all the housekeeping. Please ask your questions. That's really all you need to know. I am here today with three incredible guests who will be doing most of the talking. Thankfully, it won't be me. First up, let me introduce the wonderful team from Golfbreaks, the world's #1 rated golf tour operator. We've got Jack Simpkins here, who leads product development at Golfbreaks. Hi, Jack.
Hiya. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. And joining him is John Richards, head of digital at Golfbreaks and an expert in leading brands through digital transformation projects. Hey, John.
Hello. That's quite the intro. Thank you, Varia.
Thanks for being here. We've also got our own in-house AI expert on the line, who some of you may know, Christine Masters. Hi, Christine. Awesome. So we are going to kick off with the first part of this webinar, which is the team joining us from Golfbreaks. What a fantastic duo here, representing a really incredible and forward-thinking company. This team saw the opportunity offered by GenAI integrated into the CMS to take massive leaps forward in their productivity and their time to market. But as we all know, GenAI is a technology that takes some finesse to master. So that's why they worked with our team at Contentstack to set up their use case and make it work for them. A little bit later on, Christine will offer you a glimpse into that program by sharing how you can start to think about your own first AI use case. But first, to the Golfbreaks team, will you please tell us about how you harnessed generative AI?
Great. Thank you, Varia, and yeah, pleasure to be here. But just to start with, Golfbreaks, who we are, and as the name suggests, we organise golf trips for golfers all around the world. We started in the UK 26 years ago, and in 2019, the PGA Tour took an equity stake in the business. So in some markets, we operate as Golfbreaks by PGA Tour, and we are recognised as the official golf tourism operator of the PGA Tour worldwide. HQ is in Windsor in the UK, where we have about 160 staff, and that's where all central decisions and strategy take place. That's where our development team is where our marketing team are. We do have a small sales office in Copenhagen, servicing the Scandinavian market, and in Charleston, South Carolina, we have a rapidly expanding operation to support our growth in the US. So more than 250,000 golfers choose to travel with us each year, all around the world. And we are recognised as the world's top-rated golf tour operator. And part of the reason for that and our success is the tech. Our success over the years has been built on investing in technology, whether that's with third-party platforms or developing platforms in-house. So as a business, we really recognise the value that technology brings. That's, from customer service, sales, marketing, account management. They all see the value and are actively interested in what we're doing and what's coming next. And that's, a real blessing to have such an engaged business in what we're trying to do. but it does come with its issues when things like ChatGPT come along and there's all the hype, and then the questions we were getting is, what are we doing with AI? And don't get me wrong, it's great to have everyone so invested in what we're doing, but there was that expectation that we should be working and solely working on AI. So we had to manage those expectations and educate the different teams as to why we didn't want to dive in with 2 feet into investing so heavily in AI. And don't get me wrong, there was a bit of scrambling and some of our roadmaps planned went out the windows. But our approach to AI at the moment is thinking about what could be possible in the future, but really focusing on what is possible now. And by that, I mean exploring with our technology partners like Contentstack what they're doing in AI and how that can benefit us. Taking a real agnostic approach to the different models out there, trying them all, seeing which one really works for us. And as I said, how can we get that benefit for the business now? And one of our steps and approaches to do that is having these AI innovation days. And we're really lucky at Golfbreaks that the business invests in R&D. So in the digital team, we get 1 day every 2 weeks sprint to work on R&D projects and ideas. And we've built up a backlog of AI projects for our R&D team, R&D sessions. And some of those projects have made it into production. So as you can see on screen here, a contact center email response co-pilot built into Salesforce, where a case comes in from a customer and we can kind of get an AI response to what that email should be back to our customer, but still keeping that kind of human in the loop to just verify the details and kind of get the tone quite right. But it's a real kind of time saving in terms of drafting those emails. We've also done a bit with generative AI for campaign imagery and product and content recommendations. But we wanted to go a little bit further, and we wanted to really focus on the marketing side, and how can we use AI to help them publish content faster. Content is really important to Golfbreaks, but we have a fairly lean team, and as you all appreciate, writing and producing good content is time consuming. So we set about our challenge of how do we kind of get the team to work smarter with AI. So how can we increase that publishing speed but still retain that quality and tone of voice that we've kind of built up over the years? And ultimately, how do we give time back to the marketing team to work on other tasks? And how do we streamline our processes with automation? So we did try some of this ourselves, but we could only get it so far, and we recognized that we needed some assistance. And that's where Contentstack reached out with these excellent new tools that you'll hear about today. We have a really good long-term partnership with Contentstack. We do really see them as a partner, not a platform. And part of the AI Accelerator program was having a kind of brainstorming session with Christine and her teams to really see what those use cases could be. And we were really encouraged to think about those tasks, those repetitive tasks that we hate or cause us problems on a kind of a day-to-day basis, as really good potential use cases for the AI program. And why it appealed to us? Well, these problems that cause us, these tasks that cause us problems over time, it was really great for us to have someone come in with a fresh pair of eyes and look at it in a different way. And the opportunity to brainstorm with platform and industry experts was really appealing to us, who could guide us through what is possible with AI and Contentstack and those new tools. And it was really important for us to have that collaboration with the marketing team in this project as well. They were the end users, and it was really important for us to kind of bring them on the journey with us. And there was a bit of trial and error along the way. Some of those ideas that we had wouldn't work quite well. So we didn't take all of them forward, but we did take a couple forward. And I'm going to hand over to Jack now, who's going to talk in more detail about one of the use cases.
Thank you, John. I'll just wait for you to stop sharing, and then I can share my screen. Great. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, John, and hello everyone. So I'm going to chat through our use case in a bit more detail. So as a business, we work with over 2,000 venues, and we've got quite a unique scenario where we have products on our portal as part of the booking process, but we may only book that venue once, so that we don't necessarily want it on the site. However, we still want to give the customer the same experience. It takes up so much time for marketing with generating this content. So how do we write compelling, accurate, and informative descriptions for our portal experience? So I know there's a lot going on here, but essentially this shows a funnel of what it looked like for a marketing user to create a venue before we join the Accelerator program. So we use the Contentstack API already with an internal tool called GXP. That runs multiple jobs to help create the venue entries. So that's already helping us to save time. However, it still takes an hour and a half for a marketing user to go through the venue research, the short description creation, standard descriptions, we've got the main body descriptions, and that's before it even reaches a stakeholder for sign-off. So we've got 7 human inputs on this screen and 4 system-based. So that's a considerable amount of time for a single venue to be uploaded, and we'll see in a few slides how that has changed slightly. So where does that leave us with marketing? Well, frustrated, and that's because the content task we know takes a lot of time to complete, and that's where the AI Accelerator was a program we were interested in, as we had some ideas on how it could work and a viable use case kind of staring us in the face, but we didn't really know how best to implement it. So we had our initial scoping session, and we asked ourselves, what does success look like for this project? Well, a clear metric is time, and that's something we've mentioned a few times already, but given how long we already know it takes for certain tasks. But with a reduction in time, we don't necessarily want to lose any quality, and we certainly don't want to rush any content so that we lose our tone of voice. And that's where BrandKit comes in and helps us to set those parameters with the LLMs. An important element of control was needed, and certainly for us, we still needed a human to gatekeep that content. So we know that we can't completely eradicate a human within that process. We know we needed it to still be there, so that when we need to use it, we know we can control that. And finally, it should be scalable. So then it was over to Contentstack to take the ownership of those requirements, with the end goal of producing a proof of concept in our test environment. And there was certainly a lot of trial and error with those prompts. And on the page here is an example of 3 pieces of content we knew we needed for each of these new venues. So they're varying in length and detail, and that's for the purpose of where they're used around the sites. So in those sessions with Contentstack, it was an open forum to provide feedback, and we could share ideas and build on that initial POC. And interestingly, a prompt here that wasn't quite what we wanted for the description was actually far more suited to our main body descriptions. So something we hadn't considered as part of the use case initially, we didn't realize that the automation could actually populate content and fields that are nested within a group. And in addition to that, create extra items within that nested group. So suddenly we've gone from creating just a short description and that was part of the use case, to actually realizing, hold on, this automation has got the capability to create content on the page that we perhaps didn't initially think. So trial and error at this point is really important, and it was really important for us to understand not only what it can do, but the capability of automation as a whole. So going back to this diagram, you can see that the Contentstack entry creation remains very much the same, and is an area we're looking to automate further in the future. But with the introduction of the automation process via that LLM, we can keep the control via the workflow status and fire off that job to generate the content. So we now have 5 human areas of input and 6 areas of system-based processes. And breaking it down, in this kind of way really allowed us to identify the area where the most time is being spent. And by breaking it down, we could identify where we're going to have the most impact. So those additional systems-based jobs are reducing the time, and that's from an hour and a half to 20 minutes. So it's a considerable reduction in time, and it kind of takes out the need for all of that research, the drafts of content, and it completely removes that process to the point where the time has decreased quite significantly, which is huge for us in terms of the point at which those venues are created and then off to users sign off. It's much easier as part of handover for new students, new employees, as well as creating kind of that consistency via the brand kit that's already defined. So we've got that general copywriting consistency. So where does that leave us? Well, we get 1 day a week back to a marketing user to work on tasks that could help drive users down the funnel in other areas of the site. So that reduction of time a week has gone from 9 to 2 hours based on the average number of venue requests that we actually we get a week. And I know I've touched on some of these areas already, but in terms of the results, we've got that decreased time to market. So the product pages are much easier to produce and we can go live pretty instantly. All of that localization and content creation is consistent with our brand guidelines, and that's via brand kit. And we now have the confidence in that end user solution. And finally, it's switched the area of frustration that we'd identified for the business into a much more efficient process. Most importantly, what did we learn, and what does that mean for other ideas that we have? So try and engage with as many people as you can within the business, particularly for their pain points, and to utilize the experience of Contentstack to identify whether it's actually achievable or not. No idea is essentially too big. There are certainly ideas that we would look to work on in the future. And with that, it means, you can be ambitious and really push the boundaries of what can be achieved. I mentioned before, we started with that small description before realizing we can add in far more content via that automation, just from getting an understanding of what the automation can actually do. Trial and error is part of the process, and as LLMs continue to improve, so does their ability to produce different prompts, the accuracy of prompts. So it's a good idea to always kind of be iterating with that trial and error process, particularly if you're releasing new automations. Identify and focus on tasks that are costing your team time. It's certainly easier to quantify, and it's those kind of tasks that we want to be saving time on. And then the final point is maybe an obvious one, but it's to try and get started, start theorizing with your teams to help understand what could be possible, because there could be ideas from other areas of the business that you may not have initially have considered. And for the time being, that's everything I had to go through. I think the next slide is with yourself, Faria. Or it's with Christine, sorry. So I'm going to stop sharing.
So much. What an awesome story. What an incredible achievement. Everyone in the audience, I hope you're thinking of questions for the Golfbreaks team. Feel free to pop them in the question box, and we will have lots of time to address them shortly. For now, Jack and John, you can pop off the stage, and we're going to give the floor to Contentstack's in-house AI expert, Christine Masters. She's going to pull up the slides. Perfect. So Christine is, like I mentioned, some of you on this call might already know her. Christine is a fantastic resource for many of our customers who are already using AI Accelerator or thinking about using AI Accelerator, the program that gets you live with your first AI use case in just 45 days. And today she is giving a little glimpse into that program. So Christine, for our customers who are on this call and thinking about, I want to identify my first AI use case, what advice do you have for them?
Excellent. Yeah, can you guys hear me and see the screen and everything okay? Am I good, Varia? Great. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, first off, I just have to say thank you so much to Golfbreaks. That was an awesome introduction. I just really love hearing from customers directly about how, something in the product area, we're always trying to solve problems for people, and hearing an actual story of how our products were able to, actually save time and really make customers happy. We just really love to hear that. And we're not done. We still have a couple of use cases that we are talking with Golfbreaks and lots of our other customers about, just ways of, retroactively enforcing brand voice on previous content, ways to streamline things, make things faster, ways to make things more match your tone of voice better. So there's a bunch of things that we can continue to do in this area, and we're really excited to work with Golfbreaks and others. So let's talk a little bit, as Varia mentioned, about sort of the people on this call, and if you're watching this video afterwards, what are some things that you can think about for your internal organization to really make this a program work for you? And is this program going to, what can we help you with, for example? And let me take one really quick step back and just say, we really implemented this product both from the product perspective in terms of being able to do automation, as well as how to use AI in your automations while still sounding like you. That's one of our main things that we're trying to focus on here, making things more efficient for our customers. But we really just found that a lot of people, obviously AI is such a huge deal these days, and so many of our customers, were talking to their board of directors or their investors or their CEO, their CMO, and everybody was kind of saying, how can we do more with AI? How can AI help us? What should we be doing with AI, and what are our competitors doing? How do we not get left behind? But at the same time, everyone has so many questions about it, and there's so much stuff to learn. So we really have just spent a lot of time and have made a lot of investments in this area with our technology and our engineering teams, and just really making sure that we understand how this works and how best to align our business and help our customers there. So that was kind of why we put this together, is that we realized that, number one, the technology is hard to figure out. Like, it's hard to find these use cases and figure out how it can work for you. And it's also new. There's a lot of legal questions, a lot of technology and privacy and hallucinations and all that. So there's a lot of kind of questions here. So that's why we've kind of put this together. So regarding, what are some things that you particularly should look at to see, what are some of the first things that you can do to start your journey with AI and trying to make things more efficient and more practical for your business? First off, try to think of, we're very much at Contentstack, in terms of ethical AI and guidelines around AI, always trying to make sure that humans are aware of what AI is doing at any point in time. And this might mean that you set up something that has an approval process, or at the very least, you're aware of the different steps that are the different prompts and things like that that are part of AI and the processes that you're working with AI. And that's something that's really built into our software, so you have good transparency and visibility there. But of course, trying to look at things that are aligned with your team's objectives and things that will actually help you. I think Golfbreaks has some really great examples of things that they were able to do that would, specifically solve the problems that helped them create more revenue, help them, shave off some of that time that they were spending creating those profiles. And that's one of the things that we can do with your organization. Talk to you about your use cases, do some discovery process on what are your type of pain points that you're having, and then actually help you prioritize those. Which ones are easiest to implement and what we can implement the fastest, which ones have the greatest return on investment and the impact on your business today, and we can really help you prioritize those. And then next are just, obviously this is just a good one for kind of business goals in general. Is it something that we can track and we can kind of report back on to your executive team, saying, that you were able to reduce the amount of time it took to do a profile by 1.5 hours, or you're able to get things online faster by up to 7 days, or something that you can quantify so that you can show your stakeholders internally what you've been working on with this project. So this slide, we're kind of just looking at, again, how can you identify where AI can help within your organization? And I think, and this is actually, the discovery process. We're in a training today, actually, with our Contentstack team about how to help customers with a discovery process. It's actually pretty difficult to think about what are your processes? What are you doing? Where can AI and automation and where can Contentstack help? And there are a lot of techniques that we have that we can help work with your company on ways to identify that. One, we can go through a lot of your processes. We can talk about your goals, your business needs. There's a lot of different types of techniques that we can work on with you to help with that discovery process. A lot of times we're talking to managers or team leads, and they don't necessarily know about like the specific kind of smaller tasks that their employees are doing, so we can help identify those types of things as well. But these are some really cool things to look for in your organization for places where efficiency and automation and AI can help. If you're copying and pasting a lot of things. We have so many customers, even today, that your translation processes, you're sending a spreadsheet to somebody via email that they send back to you a couple of weeks later. That's a really good example of something that could be optimized. Same thing with personalization. If you have a spreadsheet that has 6 different audiences in it, and somebody's filling out different audiences and then cutting and pasting things into Contentstack, that's great opportunity for us to help with that. Anything that involves paper or somebody writing something out and like scanning it in or anything like that, that's a great opportunity for some optimization. Looking at places that takes a little bit longer, has more people working on it than you would have hoped. Anything where there's a lot of questions or a lot of mistakes that are happening in that process, that is a really good place where we can look for AI and automation to help. And just to kind of follow up on that very quickly, another example of working with our beta testers on this project was there was a couple opportunities that we discovered where humans, for example, were categorizing data as it goes into the system. And one of our customers found that the humans were making a lot of mistakes. They weren't applying the categories consistently. They weren't tagging things with the right specific keywords that they were supposed to. And they had kind of it all mapped out, but it wasn't a standardized, it wasn't being applied in a standardized way. And that's actually an opportunity where AI and automation can actually be more consistent, more reliable, and more making less mistakes than AI might make or automation might make for that same kind of task. So those types of things, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing this like hardcore writing blogs or writing descriptions, like in Golfbreaks is a great example of that, but there also are back end things behind the scenes. So let's talk about that just very quickly here. And I love this slide. Varya worked on this a lot. This is a great slide. This kind of just shows the different ways of thinking about AI and automation within the scope of different types of tasks that you might do within your organization. So we'll start with kind of on the left-hand side. These are things that can be considered internal processes. So I was just mentioning things like, categorizing data. That's something that we can come up with a set of rules and go through those rules on how you can apply those very consistently with automation and with AI. And that can actually be something without any kind of like front-end content being created, but something that's behind the scenes that actually helps be more consistent and more accurate in terms of how your content is marked up or how it is categorized. So that's a really easy example of sort of those back-end tasks that we can help with and make more consistent. But we also have a lot of things like SEO optimization, suggesting additional headlines, maybe having different headlines for different audiences with personalization. All of those types of things can be done as part of a human-assisted process. So again, it's not necessarily generating content that will be used without some kind of human intervention. You're just helping a human solve their tasks for the day. But then you have things, again, like external facing content, which is the more AI forward kind of tasks that you might be involved with. And those are things like translating content, rewriting content to enforce your brand voice, personalization. We've had a lot of talk now about personalization in our new product called Personalize that's coming out soon. So those are things that you can do to actually, again, help processes and create content that are more sort of on the more AI kind of spectrum. But again, you know, for those of you who are just looking for a place to start, you can start on any part of the spectrum of tasks. It could be something that's, you know, behind the scenes and very governance based, tracking about how things are phrased or how things are categorized, checking on certain errors, writing internal reports. Those are all things that can be done, or writing content and helping you with SEO and categorization and translation. And just a really quick look at the overall problem, the overall platform with our AI Accelerator program. And this has been so fun putting this together and just finding ways that, again, we can really use these different products to help our customers. And it's something that a lot of these particular products don't have one use case. So it's a little bit hard to say, hey, we can do this one thing, and then do you need that one thing? Sign up. This is something where there's so many different things that we can do, and we can really help tailor the specific platform and the specific program for your unique organization. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. But this is kind of an overview of a typical program. This is very much customized to the particular organization that we're working with. So if somebody comes in and they are like, I want to do this one thing, help us figure it out. And that was a lot, you know, Golfbreaks came in with a very specific problem in mind to help with. But we also have different customers who they want to look at AI. Their boss is telling them that they need to figure something out, but they don't know what they're going to do yet. And that's also a great time for us to step in and evaluate their, you know, their processes, look at their goals, look at their type of industry, do some legal questions with them, and then we can actually come up with a plan. So that's part of our learning and discovery process. We can help you actually prioritize your use cases. Then we can actually work with you, looking at some of our existing recipes, learning our different topics and our different programs, and then we can help you design a proof of concept of some of your top use cases. We actually will help you implement some of those. Generally, what we try to do is we will implement the first one, and we'll actually, you know, have a, they call it, you know, like the fingers to the keyboard, where they're actually helping, and we might even, you know, with permission, log into your site, help you implement it, or provide you with tools to help you implement that and review it with you. So we'll do that, as well as we will look at other use cases that you might have and help you, you know, give you recipes for those, give you a proof of concept, and maybe help your team implement those. So we can actually help with a couple of different use cases over that period of time. It's really great. And then at the very end, we'll help you with ongoing support and making sure that you can ask additional questions. And we'd love to be able to have a continuous discovery process where you can kind of go in there, evaluate how these things are working for you. Through our CSM and QBR process, we do quarterly business reviews. We can look at any improvements that you want to make, and just make sure to keep reviewing it over time. It's a great process. And again, you know, we just love working with the organization and working with individuals to help implement AI. And, you know, sort of like the Golfbreaks guys were saying, one of the tips is just get started. You know, this is a great way for us to help you fast track this and get it live in your organization, so you can just get started, get something under your belt and get it out there. Then you can start learning and continuously deploy new stuff and keep growing. It'd be great. So I think that's the whole thing.
All right, thank you so much, Christine. That was awesome. I'm super excited. Hopefully, this has given some people some food for thought about how they can get going with AI themselves. I am actually going to invite all of our speakers back on stage. Just give me 1 second to do so. All right. Awesome. So let's jump into the Q&A. I am sure this session has spurred lots of questions for Christine, John, and Jack, and we've got plenty of time to answer them. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the Q&A box or into the chat. What is this spur for you? What does this make you think of? What kind of problems and challenges or blockers or ideas do you guys have about AI in your organization? Is there anything that this group can help with? While people are typing in their questions, we also had a thought. We polled some people in the organization in preparation for this session, and we thought of some questions that we have for you guys. So hopefully it's okay if we just lob them along. Jack and John, question for you. Did you have to deal with any hallucinations or unexpected AI results?
Yeah, I can take this one. So I think it's important to acknowledge that hallucinations do happen, and for the people on the call, that is where the AI essentially makes up or fills the gap of what it thinks it should be saying, whereas it might not necessarily be accurate. Obviously, we want our venue and course content to be as accurate as possible, and that is why we need that human still in the loop. So that's, for us, it was a really important part of that process, because we knew that it could happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that it always does, but certainly in the way in which we're using it, you have to review the content in order to push it into production. If you allow it to go in blindly, then you're at risk of the information not being accurate, essentially.
And if I could add just a couple quick things to that as well, that is one of the biggest, the two things that we have really worked on within Contentstack is ways that we can reduce hallucinations. And a lot of times that can be done by adding in kind of additional background information or facts that come from an external resource. And the second thing is how to make it sound more like you and less robotic. So those are two of the big problems that we're working on with a lot of these products. And so I think that, you know, one of the main issues, like we were talking about, was adding in additional content. So with the Golfbreaks example, we're able to add in information and facts from the golf course's actual commercial website. So we're able to kind of backfill that information with some facts and logic from their site. But we can do that with a lot of different kind of external sources. So if there's, you know, a healthcare industry and they've got like a guidebook of certain kinds of, you know, guidelines or things that they want to make sure that their content abides to those guidelines, that can be background information that we can include. Or if there's a database or some other kind of historical information that might exist within the organization, company data, maybe just even marketing information, all of those types of things can be used as a database that can be queried and supplemented as part of this process and can provide information to the AI. And that is the number one way that's significantly reducing any kind of hallucination. So that's you know, a great way to try to make sure that that doesn't happen, in addition to human review, like we said earlier, which we think is very important.
Thanks so much, Christine. And thank you, Golfbreaks team. We've got a couple more questions coming in. The really interesting one, I think, from Paul here. Paul is asking, can AI translate complete web pages built with multiple components? And adding on to that, can we invite internal and external reviewers to review the translations? Christine, do you have any input on that?
Yeah, so this is something that we've been looking at a lot. Translation is, we have a lot of great partners in the translation space, and they're, you know, I think everyone's kind of working along these same lines with now that the LLMs have really been shown to produce content in most languages that is on par with human translation or with other kind of machine learning type translation. So this is a big space that we've been looking at a lot. You can also add additional directions to the translation process to say, like, don't translate any of our product names, or don't translate, things of this variety. So those are things that we're definitely looking at and working on with several customers. So yes, as part of our automation platform, you can actually do a translation process. Typically, we will identify portions of the page that will be translated. In Contentstack, you're looking at like an entry or parts of your content type that can be translated. We do have that built into our workflow system so that as things get translated throughout the process, it can go to a review stage. You can have even an external reviewer actually look at that particular translation, and then they can choose to approve or deny it and then send it back through the workflow stage. So yes, depending on your specific type of translation needs, we have different types of automations and workflows that can really help with that process. In addition to, if you have a specific vendor, we work a lot with SmartLing or other translation vendors, we can actually implement an automated process that will help those vendors work within your system as well. In addition to waiting for them to translate the page, and then again, if you wanted to have a human reviewer as well. So we have a lot of great tools that can help with that process. Again, if you're sending anybody a spreadsheet or anything like that in terms of your translation process, please call us, we can help. If it takes 6 weeks, please call us, we can help. It should take 6 minutes.
Cool, thank you, Christine. We have a couple of questions coming in from Pedro. One of them I think you can answer right now, Christine, which is, in the Contentstack platform, to integrate AI into Contentstack, do you have to install some kind of extension on the Contentstack marketplace?
Yeah, we actually have a couple different ways that we do this. The most predominant one, we have our AI assistant, which is a marketplace plugin that you can install. It's actually free to use, so feel free to go onto one of your test stacks later on today and go into our marketplace. It's called AI Assistant. You can install it. You go into our platform settings. You can choose the LLM that you want to use, or you can choose our default one, meaning that we'll pay for all of the tokens and so forth as you're doing your experimentation. So you can get started with no commitment. And then that actually will allow you to do some translation. You can test out the different languages, go to a locale, ask it to translate to this locale, and it does. You can see, how it does that and have that reviewed. In addition to that, we also have AI and other types of automations built into our system in a couple of different ways. We've got our Automate tool, which is a platform that allows you to create a step-by-step, it's a visual workflow builder where you can create these step-by-step automations. So for example, anytime something is pushed into a specific workflow stage, you can run an automation on it that asks AI to write the alt text for an image and then optimize the headline, create a French translation and a German translation, and then sends it to a review stage for one of your editors to review. So those types of things that we can run multiple processes at once and then send it to a human review, or put it online if that's your vibe. And a lot of that can be within our Automate tool as well. So we have a lot of different ways to do it. Again, contact us and we can help you kind of brainstorm what would work best for you there.
Thanks so much, Christine. Pedro, you had another question, and I'd like to ask you first to add a little bit more context. If you could do that in the chat. You asked about building, for example, a reservation app. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what kind of examples you're looking for. So maybe you can type us a chat and let us know a little bit more about what kinds of things you would be interested in implementing with AI. In the meantime, I'd love to throw a question to the Golfbreaks team. I was wondering about skepticism of AI adoption. I think a lot of people are really interested in doing AI, but they might be facing some challenges within the team of if they might be facing challenges with some people, stakeholders, for example, being skeptical. So is that something that you guys dealt with? How did you get your teams excited to use AI instead of being apprehensive?
Yeah, I think it's really important to bring those people on a journey with you. In general, people that really like change, and there was some fear that you hear in the media, AI is going to take people's jobs away and stuff like that. But that they may come for some industries, but I think we're quite far from that, especially in the marketing and creative industries. You still need someone kind of at the wheel driving the machine. So we had to show them how it can kind of just help make their job easier, like an extra pair of hands, and just give them more time to work on the tasks that they enjoy, really.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cool. I didn't hear back any more context, but maybe Christine, you've already been thinking about it since I queued it up. If somebody wanted to build a reservation app, how could they integrate Contentstack AI? And can you give some examples or use cases around that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely obviously depends on the type of technology and what the app is doing there. But just to give a couple of examples, it is possible to create essentially an automation that we also have something, and we didn't talk about this a lot today, but we will be talking about this in the upcoming months. Our Automate tool actually has the capability of creating agents in the system that can perform tasks based on what a user is asking for or part of a conversation. And essentially we use something called function calling that exists in most of these AI tools. And really it gives it access to ask certain questions to the system via like an API, where you can say like, what reservations are available for this upcoming week. So assuming that you have a reservation system that has a like an API interface that we can query, we can actually give like those instructions to AI, and then at various points of the AI process, whether again the customer is doing research or they're talking to a kind of a chatbot or clicking on certain things within the site, and then we can use AI to help look up what reservations are available, or what are the best times for that type of appointment, or any of those types of things, and then actually send those times to AI and have AI talk to the customer and say like, yes, these are some example times that we would recommend for this type of appointment, or you need this amount of time, or it should be done in the morning, or things like that that can be integrated as part of that that thought process. So yeah, there are lots of different ways to do that. We also have a really great list. So if you are a prospect, you're not currently a customer, feel free to reach out to us and we can get this to you. Or if you are a current customer, reach out to your customer support manager. And we have this really cool list of just like brainstorming use cases. And it's a kind of a categorized list of things. And it's great to kind of just read those with your team and say like, what speaks to you? Is any of these things sound like, and that would be really nice if we could do it like this, and then just see if those things really call out to you. Then we'll kind of prioritize them, and then we can see if what of those things that we can help you with. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to throw this to the Golfbreaks team. Of course, you guys also work in the reservations business somewhat. Does this spur any ideas for you, or even just like what are you thinking about next? What potential use cases are you looking at with AI? Where are your minds at now in terms of what you might do in the future?
In terms of where we want to go kind of next, I think they were mentioned a couple of times through the webinar today. But we've got a lot of content, and it's been written by different people with different styles over the years. So using AI to kind of tidy that up and make it a lot more consistent, and kind of using the brand kit functionality to keep it a consistent tone of voice is definitely something that we're going to kind of progress further in the coming weeks and months. As well as I think as Christina mentioned this, the kind of the categorization of our products, and using the kind of the AI to kind of do that heavy lifting to say this hotel is good for groups or good for families near a beach. That's all tasks that would normally go to the marketing and kind of the accounts team to gather that information. But if we can use the AI to go out there and collate it for us, still having the kind of the human review at the end of it, it's going to be a huge time saving for us.
Yeah, and just to add to that, as part of the initial proof of concept, that was very much venue based, and then obviously for the business, a large part of the product is also courses. We know that we need similar information for those pages as well if we are using them. We haven't yet set up that automation for it, but we've got the foundations now via the current automation to then reuse it in other areas of the platform that we know it could benefit.
Amazing. Wonderful. Well, I think that wraps up all the questions that we have received. If you are on with us, thank you so much for being here. We are always happy to chat. Christine loves talking about AI, and I'm sure you all felt that. So please reach out to us, reach out to your CSM. If you're watching this recording, same here. If you have questions after watching this and you are curious and want to learn more, want to talk through your AI use cases, want to hear from us of ideas, want to get the list of things that you can do with AI, we are very happy to send that along. So just reach out to us, reach out to your CSM. We'll be super happy to talk to you. I want to say a massive, massive thank you to Jack and John for being on with us today and sharing your story. This is just such a fantastic example of how to use AI, and it was so great to have you both here and sharing with us. So thank you. And Christine, thank you for being here. We always love hearing from you. We are super happy to have this great thinking about AI on our Contentstack team. And thank you everybody for being here today. This was super fun. We were very happy to have you. We'll be having more of these Q&As in the future. So if you enjoyed it, tell a friend. If you didn't, maybe don't tell anyone. We will be following up with a recording of this session shortly. And with that, again, thank you all for taking the time to join us. And this is goodbye from Contentstack. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.